All right, the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, in Paris today. Blinken's trying to repair relations with France, which have soured since last month's nuclear submarine deal with Australia and the UK. Again, that was designed at pushing back against China. But China is banging the drums of war, of course. They sent over 50 warplanes into Taiwan's airspace yesterday. Beijing has also stepped up its aggression in recent days, putting Taiwan on high alert. Now, Blinken's State Department says they are, quote, very concerned about China's military activity, and they are urging Beijing to, quote, cease its military, diplomatic, and economic pressure and coercion against Taiwan. I'm sure a tersely worded statement will do the trick, but let's find out more from Christian Whiten. He's a former senior advisor to the Trump and Bush administrations, also a Newsmax contributor. Also, Gordon Chang joining us, author of The Great U.S.-China Tech War and the Coming Collapse of China. Gentlemen, great to see you both. Gordon, first to you. You know, words, that's really all we get from this administration. How are these words landing on the desk of President Xi? Is he heeding this warning from the administration?
Yeah, I don't think so, John. Matter of fact, he's issuing words of his own. So, for instance, yesterday, Global Times, which is controlled by People's Daily, actually issued an editorial, which is essentially China's position. Not technically official, but really official. And it said that the risk of war is real and warned the U.S. and Taiwan that they need to move back. So really right now, I don't think China is that impressed. What they need to see is, first of all, more military assets around and over Taiwan. And also what they need to see, and I believe that President Biden needs to say this from the Oval Office, that the United States will defend Taiwan. I would actually like to see negotiations for a mutual defense treaty. If we do that, if we have some clarity, then I think that Beijing will realize that it cannot take on Taiwan. If we don't do that, they will question our will, especially after the fall of Kabul, where they thought that we were incapable of countering China.
Well, from your lips to the Pentagon and the State Department's ears, Gordon, but I don't think it's going to go down that way. So, Christian, what do we realistically think is going to happen? What kind of posture will the administration present?
Well, it's a pretty weak one. I think what Gordon calls for is absolutely right. And an antecedent to that would be doing what Congress wants, which is joint military interaction between the U.S. and Taiwan. We have extremely little interaction, no joint operations, training, anything like that. That would at least start to send a signal that Beijing could understand and believe. Instead, we're seeing just weakness upon weakness on weakness. Gordon mentioned the collapse in Afghanistan. Obviously, that lesson was not lost on Beijing. But if you look this week, Catherine Tai says she was going to have a big new trade strategy, and we're going to be tough on China because we're going to say they're not complying with that phase one agreement that Trump enacted. And if you look at what was actually announced, it was actually a step toward getting weaker towards China. We're creating a new mechanism so companies can hire lobbyists and come and complain about those bad tariffs so that they can go back to doing business in China. That's the type of weakness we're getting out of Biden.
You know, you look at this too, Gordon, it's completely backwards from the way the Trump administration handled it. And Christian brings up a very good point. The trade component of this is so important. That is the carrot and the stick equation. Without, you know, a path forward, and President Trump tried to do this from the very beginning, you know, you have to present some kind of path forward for China, potentially as an option, just for, if nothing else, for the Chinese people. But there's nothing like that here. It's typical what we expect from these same players in the State Department and the Pentagon, the holdovers from the Obama administration. It's appeasement, and it's leading from behind.
Yes, and Christian's very right to talk about that trade announcement yesterday, because while China has been increasing the theft of U.S. intellectual property, the United States is not doing anything. And as Christian mentioned, they're creating this new procedure to get exemptions from the tariffs. Those tariffs, by the way, were imposed as a remedy for the theft of U.S. IP, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of $400 to $600 billion, probably towards the upper end of that range. And, you know, are not doing anything about blatant stealing just I think, emboldens China to do even worse things in Taiwan and elsewhere.
And we also continue to see the Biden administration handle some of these Chinese officials with kid gloves. We just saw this situation last week when the Huawei executive was released. We also see a lot of other folks, I think the ones, why do we see this, Christian? Why does the Biden administration seem to be bending over backwards to give China exactly what they want?
Well, they're desperate for a win somewhere. Afghanistan was only the most recent debacle, but also the engagement with Iran, where Iran has said no to us 6 or 7 times as we've tried to shower them with sanctions relief to get back into the flawed Iran nuclear agreement. Also, President Biden at least twice and his national security advisor once or twice threatened Vladimir Putin with retaliation for cyber attacks on the United States and then did nothing about them. So they want a win. They're desperate for one. And they think that a big summit with Xi Jinping, the Chinese dictator, which is what Biden asked for. He denied it, but it's almost certain that he asked for that. Chinese actually said no to that. That's a complete reversal from previous presidents where the Chinese, frankly, always begged us for summits. The commies love pageantry. It implies that they have legitimacy that they actually don't get through elections. You know, we're going to do diplomacy whether or not they like it. They're sending John Kerry over. That sounds like a threat to me, but they think it's a form of engagement, and he'll talk about climate change or something like that.
Please, we'll do whatever you want. Just take him back. Just take him back. I'm sorry. I hate to kid here. Because this is deadly serious, Gordon, and sometimes all you can do is laugh. But China is serious about Taiwan. They have aspirations on Taiwan, and they're flexing their muscle right now because of the weakness we see from the Biden administration, not just because of Afghanistan, but everything else on top of that. You know, if you're Xi, you couldn't ask for a better situation in the American president.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people say, well, the Chinese were just trying to thump their chest in light of Friday's National Day holiday, which marked the 72nd anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic. But when the Biden administration doesn't push back, and Sunday's announcement from the State Department was not really pushing back. When we don't push back, China thinks it can do even more. Yep. And we've got to wait until October 10th, which is Taiwan's National Day, to see what China will do. I'm expecting much worse than these incursions into the air defense identification zone. And, you know, the Biden administration needs to be prepared to go to war at any minute because China is prepared to go to war at any minute and could very well either plan to do so or cause an incident which spirals down. That's the real danger here.
Yeah, we can also clearly see over the years, the last few years in Hong Kong, President Xi has ratcheted down the controls on them. That is his case study for what he might try to do in Taiwan. And history should be an important lesson here for everyone. Gentlemen, great to see you both. Gordon Chang, Christian Whiten, always enlightening, if not a little scary and concerning. He even got some laughs in there, too. But great conversation, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.